are followers of St. Vincent Pallotti, a Roman priest who was born in April 1795 and ordained in 1818. He breathed new life into the apostolic movement. Pictured here, preaching at night in the square of Santa Maria della Scala, he believed that every Christian is an apostle. Lay people, as well as religious, have the calling and the grace to bring Christ's message to the world. His followers, priests, religious, and the laity, still carry on his work throughout the world. The Palatines came to Australia at the beginning of this century when the Trappist monks found they could no longer continue to work at Beagle Bay in Western Australia. Bishop Kelly of Geraldton sought the help of the German Palatines who had acquired a reputation for missionary work in the West African Cameroons. In the year 1901, the first group of the Palatine missionaries arrived at Beagle Bay. Father George Walter, who was appointed superior, Father Patrick White, Brother August Sixt, and Brother Matthias Kasparik. It was realized that the high cost of flour alone was making huge demands on the mission's meager income. For a long time, Father William Droster, pictured here, had considered establishing a wheat farm in the south to provide both financial assistance as well as a holiday farm for the brothers. Towards the end of 1927, word came from Bishop Clune that the district at Tardun, 480 kilometres north of Perth, had been measured out. And a year later, on July 4th, Brother Henry Crowman left Beagle Bay after 25 years of service to begin this new, ambitious enterprise. At first, Brother Henry and the contractors lived in tents until a suitable site could be found. Brother Henry sought the help of Frank Hermol, an experienced water diviner from Beagle Bay, to find water. He and a mission boy, Jim Wilson, found a plentiful supply. After 5 weeks, a camp of sheet iron was built. Looking from left to right, you can see the windmill and tank, fowl house, homestead, workshop, shed, and a hut for the native workers. The homestead on the right of the picture is the chapel. In October 1928, the first farm machinery arrived, a half-power tractor and a scrub roller, and contractors began clearing immediately. When the scrub was dry, it was burned. The blazing paddocks were destined for cropping the next year. That same year, new helpers were welcomed. Dick Smith, Tommy Murphy, Willie Rowe, Greg Hayward and his wife Paula, who was housekeeper. Others followed. Pictured here are Mrs. McDermott with the first rector, Father Albert Schersinger, Brother Stephen Contempré, and Brother Henry, and the property's first flock of 200 sheep. Brother Matthias Kasparek, one of the first 4 Palatines to come to Australia, was sent to look after the business and keep the books. Despite poor health, he was a constant helper, setting up the blacksmith shop and working in the paddocks. The farm's most vital machinery was its team of horses. They were used for much of the heavy work. Brother Joseph Wendling, who arrived in 1930, is pictured here scrub raking with a team. And ploughing. All the horses had names, as Brother Joseph Schungald, pictured here, affectionately recalls. They were from left to right: Rosie, Boney, Brownie, Bolly, Schimmel, Prince, Ginger, and Bill. The tractor was not used a great deal, mainly due to the high cost of fuel. Sometimes it was used for chaff cutting or clearing, or, if it were vital, to harvest quickly. The brothers also turned their hand at mechanics. Here, Brother Paul Ratajski fixes a broken axle. And with the help of Brother Joseph Wendling, refuels the tractor. Repairs to the building were often necessary. The Willy Willys' strong winds, which came in January and February, could easily devastate the flimsy sheet iron structures. Wool was one of the most important incomes in the early days. Brother Paul Ratajski is pictured here with some of those precious bales which in those days were still marked Beagle Bay. Inspection of the wheat on Sundays is a pleasant tradition, and the whole community turned out for the occasion in Kasparek's block. In time, that first seed planted at Tardun would grow and ripen. But let us pause here a moment and take a look around this harsh but beautiful country. At certain times of the year, a broad expanse of everlastings softens and transforms the hard red earth. This display varies from year to year in this land of poor, capricious rains. Tardun springtime is full of the musical chime-like call of the banded plover. Its nest is little more than a scrape in the ground. The nomadic plovers are native to the dry interior, and, as this fluffy chick shows, its plumage blends in well with the terrain. Other animals and birds which thrive in the dry, dusty conditions are regulars at the old camp water trough, including these magpie larks or peewees. Provision of permanent water for stock had increased the number of magpie larks over vast areas of inland pastoral country. Other visitors include these brilliant jewels, the finches. And the Australian pipit, one of the most wide-ranging and well-known birds in the open country, which the children nowadays prefer to call by its shortened name, Grundy. Back to the farm in 1929. The first 1,000 acres were under crop. During and after the seeding, good rain had fallen, the crop looking promising. In September, a great drought set in. The crop ripened early and much of it withered away. By late October, the oats were harvested, and at Christmas, the crop was finally brought in. The grain was bagged and taken to the siding. In those days, it was bad luck if you had a flat tire on the way. The bags had to be taken off, the tires pumped up by hand, and then reloaded. No easy task on a hot day. At the siding, the bags were stacked, destined for Geraldton, and from there to Beagle Bay and for export overseas. The first of many harvests was on its way. In 1937, a new era began. Another site was chosen for a new brick monastery. Its architect was Monsignor Hawes, and the part-time builder, Brother Frank Hunky. is really another story. Let us close this chapter by expressing our thanks to the workers in those raw early years, assembled here in front of the blacksmith shop in 1932. Top row from left to right. Brother Valentine Oxenknecht, Brother Paul Ratajski, Brother Matthias Walseifer, Brother Paul Muller, Brother Stephan Contempre, and in front, Brother Frank Nissel, Reverend Albert Schersinger, Brother Henry Krellman, and Brother Joseph Schungel. We end with sunset at Tardun, near the old camp where it all began.